Are you ready to have the ultimate edge in the 150th running of the Preakness Stakes? With our Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty sitting out on the sidelines, there is no Triple Crown on the line, just a wide open Preakness and the opportunity for you to get ahead of the crowd. There are 9 horses entering the starting gate, 3 from the Kentucky Derby, 6 brand new shooters, and they're going to run a mile in 3/16 at Pimlico in hopes of wearing the black-eyed Susans. Are you ready to find your winner? Facts and figures are going to give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra, and it's time to go through all the angles and each horse that is running in the 150th running of the Preakness Stakes. Now, whether you're a seasoned handicapper or you just got the horse racing bug from the Kentucky Derby, this video is for you. I'm going to go through all the metrics, all the stats, all the past performances, and even some angles to help you find your winner. So let's dive in and see who's going to shine bright at Pimlico. So let's start with some angles, and I do want to address the elephant in the room, which is Sovereignty is a no-show for the Preakness. Now, here's what I want to say about this. I've heard a lot of chitter-chatter online about this specific subject, and I feel personally, Bill Mott and Godolphin know this horse best. They are putting the equine athlete first, and we should really respect their decision. And logically, don't you think they would have wanted a Triple Crown winner? I mean, I am sure they did not make this decision lightly, and they are doing what's best for the horse. I've also heard some chitter chatter about should the Triple Crown format change? Can horses really wheel back in a 2-week time frame? I don't really know what's best here, and I could see the arguments for and against keeping the Triple Crown format as it is. One thing I do know, if you go back to 1999, 26 runnings of the Preakness, 20 winners came out of the Kentucky Oaks, the Kentucky Derby, or the Derby undercard, and that is a 2-week time frame. An overwhelming majority, 20 out of the 26, wheeled back in that 2-week time frame and won the Preakness. So what does that speak to? It speaks to the class of horses we're seeing, the fitness of these horses, and the fact for those that were coming out of the Derby, they were running a longer distance and are now running a mile in 3/16. So here's your first angle. Upgrade any horse coming out of the Kentucky Derby. They didn't have to win it, they just had to have been in it. 17 out of the last 26 winners of the Preakness ran in the Kentucky Derby. Now let's park on this a little bit. We have journalism, we have Sandman, and we have American Promise. Out of the 17, 9 actually won the Kentucky Derby, and the other 8, they were in the top 7. Journalism 2 weeks ago finished 2nd. Sandman finished 7th, and American Promise finished 16th. Does that mean you should just throw American Promise out of your winner choices? Absolutely not. We're going to walk through what happened to him in the Kentucky Derby. Now, out of the other 3 that ran 2 weeks prior to the Preakness in either the Oaks, the Derby, or the Derby undercard, 2 came from the Oaks. We don't have any Oaks runners in this Preakness. And 1, Seize the Gray, the horse that I owned a tiny little share in, he was on the Kentucky Derby undercard, actually won the Pat Day Mile. We have 1 horse, goal-oriented, who is also on the Derby undercard. Your second angle is this. If you didn't run in Oaks Derby or on the undercard of the Derby, you want to see a horse that has run in Kentucky Derby prep races. In fact, this may be a better angle than running on the undercard. Seize the Gray was actually running in Kentucky Derby points races. So who do we have in the Preakness? We have Gosger and River Thames. The next angle is, if your name is Bob Baffert or Dwayne Lucas, you may move to the front of the line. Bob Baffert is the most winningest trainer of the Preakness with 8 wins, and Dwayne Lucas, 7 wins. Bob Baffert has goal-oriented, and Dwayne Lucas has American Promise. Now, this is a very interesting angle. Go back and look at the running notes the comments of the running line for the past 26 Preakness winners, and you will see in 13 instances the words driving, surged, charged, a horse that is full of run at the end of a race. So we can go back and we can look at the horses here in the Preakness, and I'm going to do this when we go horse by horse, and we're going to see if any of the horses have had these notes in their past performances. And finally, running style is extremely important in the Preakness. We want to see horses that are on or near the lead or have tactical speed. 19 out of the past 26 winners on or near the lead or tactical speed. And the sixth and most practical angle is going to be, can the horse beat journalism? Now, I hate to say that because you want these big races to be competitive, but journalism is our morning line favorite, and deservingly so. He was the morning line favorite in the Derby. He is just a monster. Now, he had some questions to answer for us in the Derby. Some said he couldn't earn another triple-digit buyer. Well, he proved that wrong. And me, even I was saying, hey, he's only been in 5-horse, 6-horse fields. What will happen? Can he maneuver through the traffic? He encountered traffic, and boy, did he answer that question. He came in second. So we're going to have to say, if journalism brings his A game, can this horse beat journalism? The number 1 horse is goal-oriented. He's trained by who? Bob Baffert. 1 angle, check. He'll be ridden by Flavien Prat, who is a top rider. Now, this horse, very lightly raced. 2 starts and 2 wins. He's got very little foundation, but a lot of upside. He began his career in Santa Anita in a 6-furlong maiden special weight. In a field of 7, he was kind of trailing in 5th or 6th, but he had a big rally and wins that race with a 91 buyer. Now, here's what's really important about that race. If you look at the horses he beat, they either came back and held their form or they improved. And that's really important when you're looking at horses that don't have a lot of foundation. Who did they beat and how well did those horses do next time? Then he goes to the Kentucky Derby undercard, a 1 1/16 race. And if you remember Kentucky Derby Day, extremely sloppy. He went gate to wire and won that race and got another 91 buyer. So he does have Bob Baffert, and Bob Baffert does have 8 wins at the Preakness, the most ever. But Bob Baffert was supposed to be bringing Rodriguez to this race, and Rodriguez still isn't well enough to run. Is this Bob Baffert's B team? Not if you listen to Bob Baffert. He says goal-oriented is more suited to this race than Rodriguez would have been. And he's not worried about post position 1. He reminded us that both American Pharoah and Looking at Lucky, they won the Preakness coming out of post position 1. So he's lacking some foundation, but in Bob Baffert we trust. He has that running style that you really like to see in this race. However, none of his comments say driving. The other thing, in order for him to beat journalism, he's going to need to improve, but 2 races, he does have a lot of upside. One more thing I want to point out. Both of his wins, Lasix was on. This time, Lasix off. So we'll goal-oriented get Bob Baffert win number 9 in this weekend's Preakness. Well, we're moving on to the morning line favorite of the Preakness, and that is the number 2 horse Journalism. Trained by Michael McCarthy, he will be ridden by Umberto Rispoli. Together, they have a 30% win rate. Now, here's what I want to say about Journalism. Let's start with his pedigree. He's an $825,000 purchase by Curlin. Curlin, 3rd in the Derby, won the Preakness, 2nd in the Belmont. This horse has an incredible resume. 6 starts, 4 wins, 1 place and 1 show, and that place just recently came in the Kentucky Derby. Before we jump into the races, I do want to point out the bond between him and Umberto Rispoli. If you watch the races, Journalism, extremely professional. When Umberto Rispoli gives him a cue, he immediately responds. Let's begin by looking at the Kentucky Derby and what a superb performance he had. He got into starting gate number 8, which was great for him. And remember, the question was always, how will he do in traffic? He was only running against 5 or 6 horses. What's going to happen when he gets to a 20-horse field? Where immediately, boom, he bumps another horse coming out of the gate. That's one thing. Then when Citizen Bull coming off the rail veers out, it stacks a bunch of horses behind Citizen Bull, and journalism was one of them. Talk about traffic. He then goes over to the rail and he's patiently riding the rail until he swings out, and then he starts picking off horses one by one by one. And then him and Sovereignty were nose to nose in the stretch, and Sovereignty bested him. But this was no big defeat for journalism. He answered all the questions. He has the stamina. He has the ability to get the distance. He's got the speed. He earned another triple-digit buyer in 102, and he handled traffic just well. Oh, and if it rains on Saturday in Baltimore, he can handle the slop. Can he wheel back in 2 weeks? Well, Michael McCarthy thinks so. The team did not make the decision to go to the Preakness until Sunday. Michael McCarthy went to the track to watch him train, and he said, you know what? There's not much difference between this horse on Sunday and prior to the Kentucky Derby. He's got the condition. He's got the substance. He's training really well. He's giving him all the cues that he could go and handle the Preakness. And if you look at his 2-year-old campaign, he had 3 races in 3 months. So he's okay with the shorter layoffs. Also, he's got the condition and the form, so why not run him? Prior to the Kentucky Derby, he was in 3 Kentucky Derby prep races, all with quality fields, and Umberto Rispoli was on him for all 3 wins. He was in the Santa Anita Derby, the San Felipe, and the Los Alamitos Futurity. In the San Felipe, he went head-to-head with Barnes. In fact, Barnes got ahead of him by 3 lengths, but journalism was really patient, and when the time came, boom, he sailed past Barnes like Barnes was standing still and earned a 108 buyer. Then he went to the Santa Anita Derby. He was the 1-to-1 favorite. And in that race, a 5-horse field, somehow he encountered traffic. Citizen Bull and the long shot, Westwood, they got into a match and they set some really hot fractions. And somehow journalism actually bumped Barnes, stacked behind Westwood, had to make his way around, and in the stretch had to battle Baeza, but still got the win and a 102 buyer. Let's look at his angles. First, he's all class, just coming out of the Kentucky Derby, winner of the Santa Anita Derby, San Felipe, Los Alamitos Futurity. That's something we really like to see in our Preakness winners. Second, we know he could go the distance. Look at what he just did in the Kentucky Derby, and he's by Curlin. Third, 3 triple-digit buyers. He's got the speed. Fourth, he's got the running style we like, tactical with a big late kick. Does his notes say driving? Well, it says going away. Best late. He is checking all the boxes. If journalism brings his A game, he will be writing his history into Preakness 150. The number 3 horse is also coming out of the Kentucky Derby, and that is American Promise, a $750,000 purchase by my favorite horse, Justify. And I got to see this horse up close and personal, and oh my, does he look like Justify. He's trained by D. Wayne Lucas. Check one of our angles. D. Wayne Lucas has 7 wins in the Preakness, including last year with Seize the Gray, and he'll be ridden by Nick Juarez. This is a very experienced 3-year-old. 10 starts, 2 wins, 1 place, and 1 show. He went into the Kentucky Derby with distance experience. He was one of only a few runners that had run a 1 1/8 more than once. In fact, he set a track record in the Virginia Derby, running a mile and an eighth, and won by a whopping 7 lengths. He also had a win on a muddy track. So what the heck happened during the Kentucky Derby? Well, if you watch that race, this horse got in trouble twice. The first time when Citizen Bull immediately came over out of the gate, and then he got squeezed in between Citizen Bull and Neo Equus. Now, this is a very big horse who pretty much got stopped twice. He fell back to 16th and was really just out of the race after that, and he finished with a 53 buyer. Ouch. I think you just got to draw a line through that race and just chalk it up to experience and just say he is better than that. So what does this horse have going for him going into the Preakness? Well, first, not a field size of 20, only a field size of 9. This horse likes to be on or near the lead, and he's going to get a better shot of that in the Preakness. Now, if you're going to strike a line right through his Kentucky Derby, let's look at his past performances. First win came on a muddy track, a mile and a 16th at Oaklawn. There he went gate to wire. He won by a length and a half, 95 buyer. Then he goes to the G3 Southwest, and in that race, horrible start. Now this horse needs to be on or near the lead, so he was getting to that lead. He expended a lot of energy to take it up to Speed King, and unfortunately he got tired. He moved over to the rail to save some ground, but he hit another horse, was disqualified, placed 7th with an 82 buyer. Then he goes to the Risen Star. This is the first time he's going a mile and an eighth. And in that race, again, not a great start. He tried to make it up to 3rd, couldn't hold it, finished 5th with an 88 buyer. Then he goes to the Virginia Derby, Colonial Downs. Best effort ever. There he took it to getaway car. He gets to the lead. He wins by a whopping 7 lengths, 95 buyer and track record. When this horse didn't do well, it's because he had to expend a lot of energy to get to that lead, and he tired. So, in order for him to do well, he's got to be on or near the lead. If you look at this pace, he's going to get challenged. He's got goal-oriented coming out of post position 1. That horse will have to be sent coming out of post position 1. We also have River Thames and Clever Again, the 6 horse and the 8 horse. They're also going to want to be on or near the lead, so he's gonna have some pressure up front. Now let's look at our angles. First, let's start with his foundation. Very solid foundation. Kentucky Derby, Virginia Derby, Risen Star, Southwest. This horse, very classy. Next, he's got that front running style that we like. He's got D. Wayne Lucas as a trainer who has 7 wins in the Preakness, including last year. His notes do say driving in his past performances. And then we have to ask, can American Promise beat journalism? Now, American Promise's best buyer is a 95, and his speed is improving. So either he's going to need to improve or journalism will need to regress some. And with American Promise having 10 starts, how much more room is there for improvement? Will American Promise deliver on his promise to D. Wayne Lucas and make him tied with Bob Baffert as the most winningest trainer of the Preakness? Before we move on to our next horse, if you're finding this information useful, if you're like, hey, I wish I had this for the Derby, hit like, hit subscribe, don't miss out on my coverage. Belmont is next. The number 4 horse is Heart of Honor. He is trained by Jamie Osborne and will be ridden by his 23-year-old daughter, Saffie Osborne. This is a British-bred colt by Honor AP. 6 starts, 2 wins, 4 places, and all of his starts were in Dubai. His first win was in a $47,000 maiden race in December. He won by 4.5 lengths, then goes to another $47,000, but this time stakes race at a mile and wins by 2.5 lengths. His next 3 races, he's a runner-up in all 3 of those races, but each time he got closer and closer to the win. He was in a G3 race going a mile, off a step slow, and loses by a length and a half. then goes to a $217,000 stakes race. This distance, a mile and 3/16. The distance was no problem for him, but he lost by a head. Then goes to the UAE Derby, and there he loses by a nose to Admire Daytona. Now, that race actually qualified him for the Kentucky Derby, but he chose to skip the Derby and come here to the Preakness instead. His connection said it was just too much and too close because he was traveling from Dubai to England and then would need to come to the States. This horse is a very talented horse, but here's what gives me pause. He lost to Admire Daytona, and Admire Daytona, he finished last in the Kentucky Derby. Now, it was a very sloppy track, and maybe he didn't just like it, but still, it's not something that I'd like to see. Also, it looks like the speed ratings may be a click below the rest. The number 5 horse is Pay Billy, and he is trained by Michael Gorham and will be ridden by Raul Mina. 8 starts, 4 wins, 1 place, 1 show. This is your quintessential Maryland horse. 6 of his starts have been in Laurel. He actually got an automatic entry into the Preakness by winning the Federico Tezio Stakes in April at Laurel. This horse needed 4 starts to break his maiden, and when he did, it was in December, a $47,000 maiden race going 6 furlongs. He bumped a foe coming out of the gate, but he rushes up to the front and he wins, earning a 70 buyer. Then comes his 3-year-old season. He took a big step up. He's in a mile allowance race, and in that race, he went gate to wire, wins impressively with an 80 buyer. And oh, by the way, the notes said driving. In March, he increases the distance, a mile and a 16th, and in that race, he stalked the pace. He had to go wide, but he got the win by 3.5 lengths, and the notes, they said ridden out, 83 buyer. The last race, the Federico Tezio Stakes, even longer, a mile and an 8th. And in that race, again, he's stalking the pace. Going around the turn, he begins to duel. The duel continues in the stretch, but he gets the win and an 85 buyer. Michael Gorham is quoted as saying that, hey, this horse turned a corner at 3. He was very unfocused as a 2-year-old and just needed to figure things out. And if you look, he is improving. The longer the distance, the better the speed rating. And his notes say driving, and he does have that tactical stalking running style that we like. However, the speed ratings, they are a click below the rest in this field, and he would need a significant improvement to win Preakness 150. The number 6 horse is River Thames. River Thames is trained by Todd Pletcher, and here's an interesting fact. Todd Pletcher has never won a Preakness. He's 0 for 10. That is shocking. He'll be ridden by Irad Ortiz, and Irad was aboard him in his last race, the Bluegrass. River Thames has 4 starts, 2 wins, 1 place, and 1 show, which means he's always been on the board. Now, he had enough points to go to the Kentucky Derby, but chose to skip the Derby and go to the Preakness. So we know he has a solid foundation. He didn't start racing until he was 3. His first race was a $94,000 6 furlong maiden race, and in that race he stalked the 4-5 favorite Vanderbilt. Going around the turn, River Thames got ahead of Vanderbilt. Now Vanderbilt fought back, but River Thames, another gear, and wins by 4-5 lengths. He followed it up with another dominant win, a $96,000 allowance race going a mile. Now, he broke sharply from the rail. He pressed the pace, and when they turned for home, he was gone. He won by 6.5 lengths. Then comes the Fountain of Youth, a mile and a 16th, and I thought that race, River Thames was dancing his way to the winner's circle. But Sovereignty, Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty, had another thing to say and nailed him in the end. But River Thames earned a 95 buyer. Then he goes to the Bluegrass, a mile and an 8th. And in the Bluegrass, East Avenue set a blazing hot pace, 22 and change, 46 and change. And River Thames was trying to keep up every step of the way. And he came in 3rd, with a 94 buyer. This is a solid contender of your non-Derby horses. In fact, remember, he had enough points to get to the Derby, but chose to come to the Preakness instead. So he's got that angle. He's got the angle of speed. His buyers have all been in the 90s, his last one in 94. He has the front running style that we like, another angle. And his notes say driving, yet another angle. So what's left to answer? Can he get the mile in 3/16 distance? If you go back and you look at the bluegrass, he was closing the gap to the winner in the stretch, even though it was a super hot pace. That does say something. But I also want to point out his sire. His sire is McLean's Music, and McLean's Music is known for producing horses that do better at the shorter distances, like Jackie's Warrior or Drain the Clock. But he's also the sire of Cloud Computing, who won this race in 2017. The number 7 is fan favorite Sandman. And how many times am I going to say it? Don't sleep on Sandman. Sandman is trained by Mark Casse, and Mark Casse won this race in 2019 with War of Will. He will be ridden by Johnny Velasquez, new rider on Sandman. Jose Ortiz was already committed to Clever Again. Sandman didn't enter the race until the very last minute. This horse is so consistent. 9 starts, 3 wins, 1 place, 2 shows. Sandman is a $1.2 million purchase by Tapit, and we know Tapits can get the distance. They just need an extra time to mature. Now, his superpower? Late speed. If you watch his races, he has incredible late speed. But another superpower that he has, all class. 6 graded stakes races, including the Kentucky Derby. He starts in the very first Kentucky Derby prep race in September, the G3 Iroquois, and there he had a slow start and finished 5th. Then he goes to the Street Sense. Again, he's off a bit slow, but he finishes 3rd behind Sovereignty and Tistastic. Then he goes to the Southwest. He shifts to Oaklawn. And that's the race that I started saying, don't sleep on Sandman. He comes out of the gate. It is awful. He stumbled so poorly at the gate, it looked like he was out of it. He was way, way, way in the back, but somehow he rallies and comes up and finishes 2nd behind Speed King. 92 buyer, serious heart and serious tenacity. Then came the Rebel, one of the best Kentucky Derby prep races we had. In a field of 13, he actually got this excellent start. He's very patient, but when it came time, charging late, and he finishes a length and 3/4 behind Coal Battle and Madacat Road. Then there's the Arkansas Derby. In a field of 9, there was a suicidal pace up front, and Sandman took all the advantage of that. Again, big late kick and wins. In fact, when he got to the lead, he was kind of throwing his head around like, wait, what? I'm in the front? And he earns a 99 buyer. In comes the Kentucky Derby. Gates open. He brushes another horse. He has to go wide. He bumps another horse and then finishes 7th. Seems par for course for the Kentucky Derby. Casse said, well, he just didn't like the sloppy track that well. And they were considering skipping the Preakness, going to the Belmont, but on Sunday, we got the news. Sandman coming to the Preakness. Mark Casse said, quoting Alan Jerkins, run them while they're good. This horse does click off some of the angles. We know he's got the foundation. He's coming out of the Kentucky Derby. He has all those graded stakes entries leading up to the Kentucky Derby. He's got really good speed. One of his buyers, his top buyer, was a 99. We know he's got really good late kick. The question's going to be his running style. He's more coming off the pace than tactical or near the lead. So will the pace set up for him? We've got 4 horses that are going to want to get on or near the lead. Will they set the pace up so that Sandman comes flying in late and wins Preakness 150? The number 8 horse is Clever Again. a very rapidly improving horse that's flying under the radar. He's trained by Steve Asmussen, who has won this race with Rachel Alexander and Curlin, and will be ridden by Jose Ortiz. And together, they have a 29% win rate. Now, Steve Asmussen has said that this horse has a great mind and is very athletic. 3 starts, 2 wins, and 1 place. He began his career April of 2024 at Keeneland, 4.5 furlong race, and in that race, none too shabby defeat, he only lost by a head. Now, after that, he did need extended time off, and we didn't see him until February of this year at Oaklawn. $110,000 maiden race going 1 mile and 1/16. And in that race, he went gate to wire and won by 4 to 5 lengths with a buyer in the 80s. Then goes to the Hot Spring Stakes, also at Oaklawn, and again, gate to wire winner by 4 lengths and earned a 101 buyer. A 101 buyer, just a notch below journalism. And oh, who did he beat that day? He beat Gaming. Bob Baffert's Gaming. Gaming, who was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Is this a long shot to hit the board? I mean, he's a very talented horse. He doesn't have the foundation that we like to see for the Preakness, but there are a lot of things to like here. First is the 101 buyer. Can he repeat a performance like that? Second, we have to ask, well, can he go the distance? Well, he's by American Pharoah, and he's also out of Flattering. And Flattering did win at the longer distances, and her sire was Galileo. And Galileo also won at the longer distances. He's got that front running style that we like to see. He's just going to have to prove that he's not a gate to wire type of horse, because he may not be able to go gate to wire, being challenged for the lead by goal-oriented American Promise and River Thames. This is a very talented horse, when one that I personally am going to be looking at closely on Preakness Day. And finally, the number 9 horse is Gosger. Gosger is trained by Brendan Walsh and will be ridden by Luis Saez. 3 starts, 2 wins, and 1 place. This horse always hits the board, and with only 3 starts, lots of upside to this horse. His first start was at Gulfstream in December, a 6 furlong, $65,000 maiden race. And in that race, he hit the gate, had a slow start, was trailing. The pace was super hot, 22.83 for the first quarter, and somehow he manages a rally and comes in second with a 73 buyer. He stays at Gulfstream and goes into a mile, $94,000 maiden race, and there he stopped, was poised to strike, gets ahead, and earns an 88 buyer. He goes to the last Kentucky Derby prep race, the Lexington, and in that race, he got bumped coming out of the gate. He gets over to the rail to save ground. When it's time, he swings wide and wins by 2 lengths with an 87 buyer. Can he get the distance? Well, he's by Nyquist. Nyquist could go the longer distances, and he's out of a Tappet mare, and we know Tappets can go the longer distance. He does have a Derby prep race, but he doesn't really have that solid foundation we're looking for, and his speed ratings are a click below the rest. But he's only got 3 starts, so there is some upside there. Oh, and by the way, he does have a bullet workout that you may want to pay attention to. Will Gosger pull off the upset and win Preakness 150? Now it's your turn. Drop me a comment below. Hit like, hit subscribe. I told you it's not ending with the Kentucky Derby. We've got Belmont coming. We've got Saratoga. And then we start the Derby prep races all over again. I hope you find your winner on Saturday. Most of all, sashay away with your money. Until next time, cheers.